Hey everybody, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here. Don't forget to subscribe and obviously still traveling right here, especially if you're watching the video. But today we need to talk about something that is rather concerning that is happening with the federal government, particularly the IRS or the Internal Revenue Service of the United States. We need to discuss their new mega API, or Application Programming Interface. Now, Anthony Ha of TechCrunch had a really interesting write-up on this, and quite frankly, this is concerning. So I'm going to give you my normal spiel that I always put in front of these videos, and that is cybersecurity is agnostic from politics, but we're not immune from it. And quite frankly, this may be one of those issues. So here's what's going on. We are talking about Elon Musk's DOGE, or the Department of Government Efficiency, because they are planning to host a hackathon basically in the upcoming week, focused on the creation of a mega API that will provide access to taxpayer data, according to Wired. Now, Wired, the publication, says that the hackathon is being organized by two DOGE staffers at the IRS. That would be Gavin Kleger and Sam Korkos, who also is the CEO at a health tech startup. And so here we are. That startup, for the record, is named Levels. Now, Korkos has reportedly been telling others at DOGE that his goal is to build, quote, one new API to rule them all, end quote. Now, this would make it easier for cloud providers to access IRS data, including taxpayers' names, address, social security, tax returns, and employment information, which could all be exported to external systems. Now, according to Wired, a third-party vendor would manage parts of the project, with Palantir essentially consistently brought up as one of those candidates. Quote, it's basically an open door controlled by Musk for all Americans' most sensitive information, with none of the rules that normally secure that data. That is according, for the record, to an anonymous IRS employee talking to Wired. And quite frankly, this is, I think, deeply concerning. This is not about DOGE or Republicans or Democrats or anything. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. If you're basically saying, yeah, we're going to build essentially an API to rule them all that will give remote access into basically into this sensitive data, API security becomes beyond important. You know, it's not just about, simply rotating keys. It's about understanding who potentially has access to this, how it could potentially be exposed to the internet, not to mention the fact you're copying out the most sensitive data on American citizens and giving it to a third party, which requires a whole lot of supply chain due diligence, compliance standards, processes, procedures, all this kind of stuff. These kinds of things are not done on the fly. I recently did a segment on the air traffic control system and why it takes literally years to basically replace something. You're not, slam, bam, wham, just getting this done, because planes could literally end up losing connections to radars and towers and start running into each other, or God forbid, the ground. Similar with the IRS, this has to be understood fully. Plus, the government runs on transparency laws. Whoever gets and wins the bid basically should have a transparent side of this. And if Palantir is basically the inside track and there's no real other bidders, for this, they're just considered the incumbent, that too is of deep concern as well, especially what we understand of Palantir and what they do with data. So I'm not a fan of this, to be perfectly honest. And again, if this was proposed under the Biden administration, I'd be making the exact same segment on this. And so I'm not a fan. I don't think this is good in the long term, but again, we're going to see what happens here, because quite frankly, I've already done videos and segments on this about how we've pretty much had a data breach already at the IRS due to the lack of transparency standards that we've seen with the Department of Government Efficiency. And so I'm hoping that this isn't going to be the case. I'm hoping that this is something that does not come to fruition, but again, we'll see. And I really don't care what you believe in politics. Just from a privacy and cybersecurity standpoint, this should be concerning to everybody. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And please feel free to subscribe to me at YouTube as well. Also Mastodon and Blue Sky. And as always, stay safe, stay online, and please attempt to stay private, informed, and definitely secure if you're an American. Take care.